football ever. And they've now lost 8 games in all competitions this season, which is the most for 34 years.
Doesn't read well when you say it like that at all. Yeah. But I think, listen, as Joe mentioned before, the transfer market definitely didn't help Frank and his team. But what I think will be great and telling from this performance, from this game today, is that these young players in this team have been hyped up, rightly so this season. They've put in some very good performances. They would have seen what it's like to see top-level players close up. Yeah. What it's like. This is a level above now,
and how should those young players respond to that? What's
They should sit and say, right, there's more hard work to be done. Yeah. I'm way off. I'm not way off, but I'm a way off of getting to that level and performing like this consistently. And so we've got to raise our game on a day-to-day basis at training, which I've been to Cobham this week and seen the way that they've trained and the way that they're working. Yes, they're working very hard, but there's always a next level to get to, and you have got to have the desire to work towards that. But sometimes you've got to see it, and that's a great learning curve tonight for some of them.
Sometimes you've got to see that elsewhere it can be better. Yeah. Players are stronger than you, better than you.
I think
you've got to respond in the right way.
Yeah, I think, Gary, I remember the first time I played against Barcelona, and I come off the pitch realising that there's a long way to go because there's players out there. And this team, even for the players not playing tonight, the lads were injured, watching it and seeing the level. But again, the project to be brought into it, this club now, you know, it's long term.
Yeah.
You've got these young players. If Chelsea want to get back to the top of the game, you know, you build and develop these young players, and then you add to them. Because tonight it needed a fresh number 9 striker who could stretch Bayern the other way. Yeah. It needed a bit more solidity at the back, you know, at the left back position. So I felt it needs the right additions to the squad. But I think the young lads could take from this. What they take from this, whether they get to there or not, it'll be down to them on the training ground, day to day.
But don't be disheartened. No. They can't be disheartened. They can't let this performance ruin all the good work that they've done to this season. They're in full position in the league. They beat Spurs, a team that will contend in for the full place position.
And they've lost against a really top side.
And it's a top side, good players.
OK, let's hear from the Chelsea manager. It'll be interesting to hear the thoughts of Frank Lampard. He's with Des Kelly.
Frank, was that a brutal night against some classy opposition?
Yeah, performance and result. So sometimes you have to be brutally honest about it. And so they outclassed us in pretty much every department. So it's quite sobering. Am I surprised? Well, I think we could have done more, certainly. I think the level of the team that they showed that they are, hence why they challenge at the top of the Bundesliga and in the Champions League year in, year out, quality players that were on good form. Again, I'm disappointed we couldn't have done better against them, but it's a real reality check for everybody, really, individually in the dressing room. You have to take that one on the chin, look at yourself and no one else, and just look at the levels that we want to attain at this club, which this club has attained in the past, and we have to work to get back there.
Is that what we saw? Because Azpilicueta's slip, they took advantage of that. You get punished at this level, and of course they followed it straight up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's a small moment, and they do that. You look at the choice of pass that Lewandowski makes, one's in, to not take the shot on, and not to say that they could have scored more maybe tonight, but we certainly could have done. Our choice of pass has to improve in the final third as well. So there's lots of elements that the players, if they've got anything about them, and I think a lot of them have in there, will look at their competitors today, who they're up against individually. No tactics, no looking around at other parts of the team and just go, who was I up against? And those are the levels we want to attain and more. And it's a reality check, as I say again, of the work that needs to be done here.
We can see why Bayern are unbeaten 13 away in the Champions League. You can see that with the possession, but of course the third one, does that close the door, the Lewandowski?
I don't know. I don't want to comment too quickly on that. We'll always play with pride, and you should never say the door's closed, because our fans wouldn't accept that, and rightly so, and I wouldn't do. But I'm more worried or concerned about the bigger picture here, and how quickly can we recover for the weekend, firstly, in the Premier League, but also will we see that today and go, OK, let's understand where we need to get to for everybody here, and there's a lot to be done.
And in that return, you've got a couple of key players missing. Is that down to indiscipline? We talk about Jorginho will be suspended, and of course Alonso get the red card.
Well, yeah, Georgie's done it, I think, from talking to the ref, so you know that's unnecessary to get a yellow when you're on that yellow. And the Alonso one I haven't seen clearly. I'll have a look back at it, whether it was a pure red or not. But they're out, so we'll deal with that individually, and maybe it opens the door for some players to come in what will be tough now at Bayern. It'll be a tough test of character, which isn't the worst. The lads have to go and accept what happened tonight, go there and try and show with another opportunity they can go up against players at that level.
Thanks very much, Frank.
Thank you, Des. Thank you.
Very honest from Frank Lampard, basically saying what you guys were saying about attitude. He didn't get a clear view of the Alonso red card, so...
Waving arms. It's silly, really. I think he's an experienced player. Came in and done well at the weekend, and you can't be doing that in the game today when there's cameras all over the place. You're going to get caught, you're going to be punished, and I thought he was punished, deservedly so.
Joe?
Yeah, listen, he's let his manager down there, no doubt. I think initially, he's had 2 pops in, but I think initially when they were running from the first few, Gary, it looked like they even said something to each other. So I think there was a bit of malice and a bit of venom. But you don't expect that from your senior players on the pitch. Maybe the young lads you could have expected it from, but Marcos Alonso's a senior player. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have dealt with it, and he's let the team down a little bit there.
Positive word on Bayern Munich, obviously as a former player yourself. Impressive.
Very impressive. I think Hansi Flick just got the job permanently. They played really well. And I think they only really got out of reset 3rd or 4th gear. They felt like there was so much more there.
That's some great stuff.
Intensity of the press was back, which was different. The attacking players are really good. That Bayern team is... I know they give up chances at the back, but offensively they're so good.
Yeah. I mean, we were purring over some of that football up here.
Well, we've been fortunate enough to see them twice now in Champions League this year.
Spurs, probably the best 2 games they've played this season.
They dismantled Spurs at Whitehall Lane worse than today.
Yeah. And 12 months ago at this stage, we were talking about a domination of English football again in Europe. All of a sudden, it looks slightly different, doesn't it? All the teams are under pressure. All 3, none of them have scored yet, have they?
It's crazy. It's a big change. It swings, but I still think Liverpool get through. It's a tough game, but Liverpool come through. I think this tie's over, and Man City will see how they get at it with Real Madrid.
Big couple of weeks ahead for Chelsea. Probably more important than the second leg.
Much more important. Frank alluded to it there in his interview straight away. That how can we recover for Premier League? Because he knows it's vital for this club to get that 4th position. Because, not spent now for 2 windows. You get Champions League again. You've got the lure of coming to Chelsea, the lure of coming to London. And there is clear that to get to that level, you need to bring players in. So I think it's vital that Lamp says the lads need to get their heads right on it. And by the way, if I was in that dressing room, you got that attitude where you want, you just want to be embarrassed when you get beat like that. Do you know what I mean?
Frank nailed the interview, actually.
They can hardly turn to him and say, well, what do you know?
No, exactly, and that's my point.
It's an advantage, isn't it?
I need more. You need to win those individual battles. You need to defend better, make less mistakes, and be clinical. They had chances in the game. They just didn't take them. But I thought Reece James played great. I thought Mason Mount played pretty good. The rest of the players, I thought they were outclassed by a better team.
Yeah, in fact,
I think he said it to it, didn't he? In his interview, he said about tactics. You can talk about tactics. Your man, who you're up against. Did our midfield get close to Thiago or Kimmich? No, they run the show. So that's straight away. Can they do better at the weekend?
They had basically better players all over the park this evening, and therefore, tactically, it doesn't matter what you do, do you? You might limit the damage, but that's probably the best you can expect. Yeah,
and I just think that, listen, I think on paper there was always the better team from an experience perspective, but also in terms of quality. And I think they've got players in that team that are game changers, and when they get in, they're clinical, and they proved that today. Like Lewandowski's goal ratio in the Champions League and in the league this year has been phenomenal.
I don't know. We were talking about George. I mean, Jorginho is, he's very good at what he does, but against the best sides.
Tomori might have been good there today because he's so quick.
Right,
I think he's got a lot of good person, but I think you're right. At least 4 or 5, not quantity, just quality. Real quality players that can make the difference. Every Bayern player made a difference today at some point in the game, and I think Frank had too many people that haven't played enough football, whether it's Barkley or Giroud or Alonso, and I think that showed today.
Yeah, well, they're 4th in the Premier League, like a lot of points behind Liverpool and even Manchester City. Yeah, he's going to have to implement his own philosophy into the team, but also, he's got to dip into that transfer market, and he's got to actually start making some waves there, given that opportunity in the next window that comes up. Well, they bought one. They've got one in already. Good one. A good one as well,
top player. Yeah, he'll be great for that.
Where else in particular they need to strengthen?
Up front they do. You've got Tammy Abraham, who does score. He's been scoring goals. He's young. He needs someone else in there that's going to come in and take over that responsibility as well. Add goals.
Frank talked about the final third, the choice of pass. I think either the midfield. I thought Jorginho tonight struggled when it got a bit physical around him and he was getting run off. I think Jorginho's a great player, has fantastic talent, but when you've got the ball and he's a fantastic player, he can play. But when it gets a bit hairy and a bit there, he can miss out a little bit.
OK, chaps, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Just a reminder that the Greavesy documentary celebrating the life and times of a true footballing icon will be with you shortly here on BT Sport 2. Tonight, Frank's fledglings were on the receiving end of a Gnabry Serge, and tomorrow we'll bring you another heavyweight clash.